This is part 2 of the presentation of the data management cockpit for HR. Let's look at one of the records, sample records, which we will work with. In PA 30, we'll just basically have one record. In this case, we're going to have just me as a sample record, and I will basically go now this time through the process of archiving the data. As explained earlier, we have set up an archive object. In the archive object, where the definition is maintained in AOBJ, transaction AOBJ, we have an archive object which defines all of the tables which are subject of archiving. So after we do the archiving, we expect in this file to have all of the relevant data in the file. So the sample file was ZHR, and the structure definition on the left basically shows us that we have the most important relevant archive or tables, SAP tables defined, which should be subject for archiving. The process is again the same. We go into our transaction for the DMC-HR, which the first step is to add the records into the table. So in this case, I actually know the record already. So we just run the initialization process for this record. After that, we go back into our catalog, and we should now see a new record, which is correct. So we see the new record, Thomas Langner, has been added here. So essentially, we also again have to go through the approval process. Let's actually simulate a scenario where we want to do an archive without an approval. So if I go in and try to archive without an approval process, I see that only approved records can be deleted. So let's do first in disapproval. We try the same thing. It's disapproved, archive, only approved records can be deleted. So this is our a safeguard. So at some point, you know, let's assume we do actually do the approval. So we actually go in here and we see now we got the approval flag. So so that all looks good. And what we basically can now basically do after it's approved, we do the archive. We're going ahead, and as you can see here, we get progress information that the record has been successfully archived and deleted. So how does this look like in the log? So we essentially, if I order this by the timestamp, I see that we basically had the initialization, approval, we had the archiving, and the purge. So let's actually verify that we did actually do an successful archiving. If I actually look at the details of this record, I can actually see that in here in the log, I will get the exact information about which archive file key I'm expecting the data to be in. So I can now go back to the transaction with the archive file browser /n as_archive file browser is a transaction which can be used to review archive files. And if I go in here, I should actually see there is a session 1642. We see this here, 1642. And if I look at the timestamp, 1642 is 5:5, which is consistent with our clock time over here. So we just created this this file, and we actually should be able to see the content of the file by simply double-clicking on the file. Once we double-click on the file, we essentially see that all of the record which we defined in the AOBJ have been actually moved into archive file. So if I select the P002 with the personal information, and then I select the table tab, I can see that when I click on this, that the record Thomas Langner as it has been moved from the database into the archive. And now we can actually try to verify if actually the record still exists in the database. So we could go into SE16N and run in the P002 table with this personal ID which we have, which is 1116. We'll go in there, and as you can see, there's no value found. So the data has been removed. Another way to verify that is to take this record and actually plug it into the PA30 transaction and see if this brings anything up. So it will go in here, and as you can see, it's totally empty, no names anymore, no info types, everything's deleted. So this is an example where we basically move the information into an archive file, and at this point we can use the classical archive retention cockpit tool to manage the deletion of the archive files. That essentially concludes the part of the archiving of the data using the data management cockpit from Dolphin for HR.